Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of The Quiet Gardener with Rose. And I am Rose. So, we are back for the third episode. Oh my, has been an interesting journey so far. So, today I have another article. Now, last time in episode 2, it was a more liberal article about young people aren't having sex anymore, as if that was a bad thing. This article is a more conservative article. And this one is from USA Today, and it is an opinion piece that was published back in February of 2025. The title of this article is What Conservative Women Know and Liberals Don't About Happiness. Ta-da! All right. So, according to this author, and this is a short article, I like that. It's pretty short and to the point. So, this author is Nicole Russell from USA Today. And I think just from reading this, it's pretty clear that she is conservative politically um, and lifestyle wise, I'm sure. So, that's the perspective that she's coming from. But she says that new research has shown that young conservative women are much happier than liberal women. And the question is why? So she's quoting a survey by it's called the American Family Survey of 2024. And I don't know that that survey may be a more conservative leaning survey. It may be biased. I don't know. I don't research all of that, but I am just telling you what she's quoted in her article. So, according to this American Family Survey of 2024, liberal women aged 18 to 40 are much less likely than conservative women to say they are happy. Only 12% of liberal women say they are completely satisfied with life compared to 37% of conservative women. Self described moderates, well, somewhere in the middle, are also happier than liberals, with 28% agreeing that they are fully satisfied with life. So there is a significant difference between more conservative leaning women versus liberal leaning women in terms of overall satisfaction with life. And that's interesting. And it is it's a topic worth investigating. Apparently the uh the guys who headed up this survey or this research, they argue that conservative women are happier because they make different life choices. They are more likely to get married, have babies, and embrace a strong faith. All things that make them feel less lonely, and people who don't feel lonely are more likely to be happy, which that makes sense. It's so simple, isn't it? Sounds pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna add my 2 cents to this, because people can go a lot of ways with this. I know people who want to argue with it'll start saying, "Well, just because you get married and have babies and blah 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 doesn't mean you're happier." But what they are saying is that people who do this and really embrace these things, people who really embrace the connection of having a spouse, of being in a marriage, of having children and raising them in a certain way with certain values, and who have a strong sense of identification with their faith. They're saying these people feel more fulfilled in life. And that's kind of like common sense. Like, if your life is fulfilling, it has purpose. You're not just going through the motions. The things in your life are really meaningful to you and you embrace them and enjoy them, then you probably would be happier with life. Now, another interesting point here, it says in 2023, research published by the University of Chicago found that being married is the most important differentiator between happiness and unhappiness. Now, this is just a whole separate study. And so that's very interesting. It's a very interesting phenomenon because, I mean, it's common sense again, especially for people who have more conservative beliefs and views. But it's interesting because what we're seeing is people are moving away from marriage, right? Younger generations, this day and age, even older generations who have probably been married and divorced, the marriage rates are down and divorce rates are up. And if it is true that married people are actually happier, I think what we will see is a continued decline in life satisfaction and longevity because also marriage is right correlated. Studies have shown with a longer lifespan in general, particularly for men. And so these are really, really important uh, concepts for us to kind of wrap our head around. And also, they do talk about men, the differences between men and women on this as well. And I thought that that was significant. It says here that the research has shown that single women are much happier than single men, reporting more satisfaction with life in general and in their relationships. And that is most likely, I mean, I'm just guessing here. I didn't go read all of the research articles, but I'm going to assume that that is because women are more relational. So, women, because they are more relational, then women tend to get life satisfaction from all their relationships, right? So, from friendships, from family relationships, those relationships and the quality of those relationships is what brings satisfaction. Whereas men are not as relational, and so their significant emotional bonds tend to be with their partner, their spouse, or their children. And so I think, men have fewer outlets or fewer connections, fewer sources of connection to kind of feel that sense of satisfaction and connectedness to other people. And this is significant because what I have heard more and more on social media and on all these different platforms is younger men being really frustrated with relationships in the dating scene. And many men, younger and middle aged, are foregoing significant commitments, significant relationships, and just kind of doing a single life. And research has shown that single men don't fare well health wise, longevity wise, and even happiness, quote unquote, happiness wise. And so this is not a good situation for men in particular because they will, uh, just according to research and trends and studies, they really won't fare as well being single throughout this life as a woman will. And so that's a concern to me for sure. So the bottom line is we need each other, and women and men need to reach a middle ground. What else was interesting here? Let's see. Then they start to talk about political leanings, and they bring that into it, which is interesting. Of course, this article says that conservatives, as in Republicans, are happier than Democrats. So it says, and it goes back to 1940 and it gives a comparison. It says in 1940, about 80% of both Republicans and Democrats aged 30 to 50 were married. By 99, that rate had dropped to 71% for Republicans, but it was only 56% for Democrats. And in 2024, less than half, 49% of Democrats were married, with a marriage rate of 67% among Republicans, which is a significant difference. Um, and of course, the premise of this article is that conservatives or Republicans are happier and more satisfied overall, and marriage is a big part as to why. In addition to that, they talk about church membership, which was another one of the factors that they contributed to greater happiness. And so church membership overall has declined dramatically, as we know, over recent decades. It says currently only 12% of younger liberal women attend church weekly, while more than half conserv- conservative women do. That's significant. We're talking about young women. So there, I'm assuming, talking about 20 to 30-year-old women or 18 to 25-year-old women. So only 12% of young liberal women regularly attend church, where more than half of conservative women do, which is which is significant. It's a significant difference. And it sounds like it's made a significant impact on things. In some, liberal young women are less likely to be integrated into core American institutions, specifically marriage and religion, that lend meaning, direction, and a sense of solidarity in women's lives. So many of us that are conservative or have conservative values probably already knew that. It's to us. Uh, but I think it bears repeating, and I think it bears younger women really kind of what particularly if you're liberal, to really kind of look at this concept of life fulfillment and life happiness and what that means for you. Um, you can accomplish a career and degrees and all of that, and I've done all of that. And be independent and a boss lady, whatever you want to call yourself. But at the end of the day, is that enough for you? Do you crave the fulfillment that only things that are intangible can bring you? That would be faith. That would be family. That would be a strong marriage. That might be raising kids. It might not be raising kids. But at the end of the day, as human beings, we are built for connectedness. Period. End of story. We are built for it. And without it, we falter and we fall apart and we develop neuroses and all kinds of things. And so that's something to really think about. Um, Society would have a woman believe that you can have it all and you can have some of it all. You can have it all to a certain extent, but you can't have it all. You can't necessarily put all of your energy and effort into building a career and building this independent lifestyle, but then still want all the other things that involve interdependence or dependence, having a family, raising kids, all of those things. Um, Typically, if you're going to have a traditional family, then that requires to some extent for you to embrace traditional values and dynamics. And so, this whole modern concept of I can have it all, I can wait until I'm over 30 to think about kids, or think about marriage, even, which is ridiculous because we know how fertility works. That doesn't change because society has changed and women are doing other things. So at the end of the day, by the time you're 35, your chances of getting pregnant and having a successful pregnancy really start to shrink, and you have higher risk of birth defects and all of these things. So if that happens by 35 and you want to get married before you have kids and you want to have a year or a couple of years with your husband, just you two before you start having kids, then okay, so we're looking at this. That means you need to really be contemplating getting married at a younger age. So we're talking getting married at 25, which is honestly is ideal. That is ideal somewhere in there. And then starting to have a family. Because like I said, if you want to have more than one kid, you're gonna put a couple of years in between each one. So do the math. This isn't even my opinion. This is just like facts that after 35, you're going to have a much more of a struggle. And then you're looking at what? Harvesting eggs when you're younger, going to fertility clinics, paying thousands and thousands of dollars for IVF and all of these things. That's insane. So everything comes with a cost and everything in life has a trade-off. So as a woman, you can have a career, you can be successful, but there's a trade-off to that. And let me tell you, I have multiple degrees. I have a doctorate. And that came with a trade off. That meant that when I was younger, a young 20-some-year-old woman, my focus was on my career and education. It wasn't on finding a husband or anything like that. Um, and so, because of that, as I got older, one, obviously my options were a little different. I got married. I got married, in my 20s at I think it was 29, and I had a good selection of men to choose from at that age, and with what I had accomplished in my life, I had a good looking resume there. So it wasn't that hard at that time. But had I waited a little bit longer, it probably would have been a lot harder. And so I look back and I think, there should have been maybe a little bit more of a balance. So a little bit less focused on career, obtaining degrees, the status, achieving all these things, and more, which were important to me. But at the end of the day, degrees, a job, a title isn't as important to me as being a mother. That's the most impressive thing I have done in my life, raising my kids. It is the most impressive thing. It is the most important thing I will ever do in this life. I don't care how many degrees I get, how many accolades, awards, positions of power. Nothing is more important than having raised my children. That is the greatest contribution I will give to this planet in this lifetime. I'm pretty sure of that. So I didn't understand that when I was younger, though. And so that did take a back seat to me doing other things. And now that I look back, I think I would have made it more of a priority. And so I would encourage younger women who, even if you're career focused, there has to be a compromise. So you can't wait until you're 30, 35 and be like, oh my, I think I want to get married and have kids. Like, girl, it's possible. Anything's possible. But we're looking at here the average person. I'm not talking about outliers. There are outliers for everything. But most of us are average. I'm average, you probably average. And so the average person, there for females, there really is a biological clock. There really is a prime time for finding a partner, for being able to select the best partner that you want in terms of your value on the dating marketplace. And we could do a whole nother video about that in case you don't understand that as a woman, your value on the dating marketplace is limited. It is limited by age. And it is for men too, but we're at opposite ends of the spectrum. So women, our value is higher when we're younger, like in our 20s, early 20s. And it starts to dip. There's a downward decline as we move to our 30s and 40s. You look. Uh, well, with men, it's the opposite, right? Like, so when they're young, their value is pretty low on the dating marketplace because they hadn't accomplished anything. Things that we use as markers of what's a desirable mate, those things haven't changed. Society may have changed, but at the end of the day, those things are, many of them are genetically wired into us and they don't change in one or two generations. These are things that took hundreds and hundreds of years to develop, maybe thousands of years, and they are, geared towards survival and all of these things that are more biochemical. And so a man's value starts to rise as he gets older. So you see what I'm saying here? So, I think that's something that young women need to think more about. Instead of thinking you're just like a dude and you can wait, you can do whatever, you will always be able to find a partner and always be able to have kids and a family. No, it doesn't work that way. So there is a trade-off that must be made, and you have to decide when the time is right for you to make that trade-off because you can't have it all. You can't be 100% into your career, devoted to your career, and still be 100% there for your kids and your husband. You can't do it. And yeah, you may say it's not fair. Men aren't expected to do A, B, and C. No, it's not fair. Men and women have different roles in different places in the relationship, different responsibilities. And regardless of how modern times become, that doesn't change all that much. And so, yeah, life isn't fair. The differences between men and women are real and there are different expectations, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to be a woman. It's a great thing to embrace that femininity and that feminine power and to understand that with it comes these beautiful gifts that men don't have. They have a whole nother set of attributes and assets. All right. So that's something for young women to really think about as you go through this life and as you make these major decisions. That your happiness is probably not ultimately going to be based on how many degrees you get, what position you get, what titles you get, what job you get. It's probably going to be based on things that are less black and white, less tangible, and that would be the quality of your relationships, having a spouse that you are committed and connected to, and having beautiful, wonderful children that you raise to go out in the world and do great things. Okay. So I've reached my 20-minute mark. Stay on task because, on track because I can start talking and it can just go on and on and on. So I'm trying to keep these relatively brief. 20 minutes is about my marker there. And I think that's more than enough time to get the point across and, to keep people's attention. So I've accomplished that today. I'm very happy about that. And that's all I got for today. So you can leave your thoughts and comments below. Don't come over here trying to argue with me because, I'm not about that life. We're not going to have any of that over here. No, but seriously, I understand that people disagree with me. I don't care. Like, I'm fine with that. Everybody can have whatever opinion they want. It's a free country so far. I'm just here to present my opinion, my perspective based upon my history, my lifestyle, my background, my life experiences and realizations. And it is skewed in a certain direction because that's who I am. I'm not here to be a neutral party. I am here to present what I believe, what I value, and hopefully that resonates with someone, and hopefully it's a young woman who's out there trying to figure some of these things out and maybe trying to get some different perspectives. So that's all. That's the only purpose of this. It isn't to argue with anybody about who's right and who's wrong. It doesn't matter who's right and wrong. There is no right and wrong. It's my opinion versus your opinion, and I'm not shifting my opinion. I can tell you that. I pretty much have, like I said, done it all, been there, seen that, and I've come to who I am with trial and error, with many years of experience, many years of being involved in conversating and debating with many different types of people. And I am very firm on my values, my Christian faith, who I am as a woman, who I am as a Catholic Christian woman, and that's not changing. Okay, so I am what I am. So what I say is not meant to be the end all be all of life. It is really just my opinion. So if you don't agree with it, that's fine. If you don't agree with it, you probably wouldn't be here, minute 22. What? Well, listening to this podcast either, but just putting that out there. Right, so I'm out of here. This is the end of episode 3. Yes, we're on a roll. So until next time, bye bye.